We have an excerpt, and I want to show that from the film. If they'll flip this over, we'll take a look at this now. And when you see that, very nice. You've never, ever regretted the decision to leave on top?
No. No, I wanted to leave when people were saying it's too soon rather than when is that woman ever going to stop? And I just felt, you know, the one part that I've rarely spoken about is I actually made a deal with my husband that I would go to 50. And, you know, he said, if these are not our years, when are they? And he was right. So I had, and maybe you should listen to this, I had another life. And I think that's very important. I think it helped me as an artist, and it helped me be less frantic about how long I was going to go on singing. I had a family, I have my children, I have a very supportive, I have a good family life. So when I left singing, I was not alone, and I was not without anything to do, and I was not without an adoring public to move over into my family life. But they were never in love with my high notes. My husband was never in love with my high notes. You know, the story is he always came to the opening of everything I did because he didn't want my mother, my dad had passed away, he didn't want her to come alone. So he would come to the opening and never come again. But that was fine. I mean, it was much better than having him hang around backstage the way I saw some other husbands do. That would be a little bit uncomfortable for me. It's not my style, it's certainly not his.
But for all the drive, you had a lot of drive as well.
Yes.
A lot.
I still do.
And you still do. And what's interesting is that you could, with all that drive, at the same time, find some kind of balance. I mean, you were able to do that, plus the demands of...
Charlie, do you know how lucky I was? What a career that was. When I look back, it's as if it happened to somebody else. I mean, I can't believe that was my career. I was very lucky.
Why were you lucky?
I had a ball. I mean, you know, every dream I had in terms of my singing came true. I mean, I wanted to sing at La Scala. Boy, there I was. I mean, name an opera house that I dreamed of singing in. Who ever dreamed that I would be in Covent Garden and Vienna and South America? And, I mean, I was a kid from Brooklyn, very poor parents. I was lucky if I got to Manhattan. Here I am, all around the world.
Internationally celebrated.
Exactly. People knew who I was. That was good for my ego. And so I really, while it's difficult to say what all is, I think in terms of my career, I really did have it all. I made a fortune. I can't believe how much money I made in my time. I really can't, because, you know, as I said, I was so poor. I mean, I worked for tips in a nightclub to pay for my singing lessons. It you know, was an incredibly difficult pull, and to, you know, I'm very proud of this, which is why people say that I'm too candid about it, but you will understand this as a young singer who's just beginning, but in 1969, I made my first $1 million in 1 year.
69? That's when $1 million meant something.
$1 million, let me tell you. So much so that my husband said, okay, we're tying up all your money into trust for the kids, and you're going to live on what I have.
Right.
Admittedly, it was no big sacrifice. He's comfortable, and we're fine. But I was able to see what I was accumulating, unlike other people who spend it as they go along. I was not spending it.
Yeah.
So it's fun to look at and see what was accomplished by whoever this woman was.
There is also this about you, and I'm not the first. I will never forget Mike, your friend, Mike Wallace, ending a profile of you on 60 Minutes, basically saying, I gotta admit it, I just love her. You remember that?
Yes, well, I love him too.
I know, and so do I. But here is the point. There's a sense that you could do pretty much anything you wanted to. Do you feel that?
No.
There's no challenge too big for Beverly if she decides she wants to.
No, for one thing, I really have to love what I'm doing. Otherwise, I don't do it so hot, I have to tell you.
You failed at anything?
No. Now that you ask me, no. I'm sure, you know, we all go through life and have had a big flopperoo, so of course.
But you can't think of one, can you?
No, well, it's not that. It's that I don't look at things in terms of success and failure.
You look at them in terms of what?
Well, I look at it in terms of whether... I sound like such a Pollyanna when I talk like this, Charlie. It gets me very upset. But, you know, my mother was a Christian Scientist, and we were sort of taught that we have to improve one person's life every day of our lives, otherwise we have failed.
Right.
So I try not to make anybody unhappy, and I have a trigger temper that nobody knows about. I try to keep it under control most of the time, but I am pretty hot-tempered. I don't like it to show because I don't think in my singing that having temperament is one thing. Being temperamental is another. I never wanted to be temperamental. I wanted to have temperament.
To be temperamental is to be diva-ish or some divish.
Unreasonably insane is what I consider someone who's temperamental. But having temperament is what you saw there, a kind of tutto questo avrà. That's a kind of spark. And that I like, and I think you have to have that, otherwise you're just a pancake on stage.
But that's what Isaac Stern once said to me, was a sense of being able to say, I can do this, I know this music, I know how to sing this song, I know how to...
How can you walk on stage and think to myself, well, good luck, Beverly, you know, good luck, Ying, I don't know if I can do this. I mean, you could drop dead for fear. I mean, that's part of being an artist, is knowing that you can do something a little bit more special than everybody else. And if you don't feel that way, you have no business being on the stage.
I want to come back to you, but let me just ask this.
Sorry, dear. We're just old friends. We talk a lot.
We talk a lot like this. How many interviews have we done?